Children of the Corn is the 1984 horror movie directed by Fritz Kiersch, and it stars Linda Hamilton, John Franklin and Courtney Gaines. Jeffrey Mussman, who is one of my Patreons, has decided to choose Children of the Corn from 1984 for me to review this month. A young couple trapped in a remote town where a dangerous religious cult of children believe everyone over the age of 18 must be killed. Before I get into the review, guys, I watched this movie as a kid. I watched it quite a few times as a kid. I remember loving this film, and I'll get into that more about my feelings towards it now, but it has that nostalgic factor, so just so you know before I go into the review. Even though I've seen this movie a few times, watching the start of the movie is still quite disturbing to watch. At the beginning you see little Job, I think his name was, played by Robbie Kiger. He was in a coffee shop with his dad, and at the beginning of the movie, Malachi and Isaac, the main bad boys in this movie, ordered everybody in the cafe to be killed, and they were all either drugged or slashed to death. And that scene still stuck with me as a kid, and watching it today as an adult, it was still very disturbing. Speaking of Robbie Kiger, who plays Job in this film, he's also in the Monster Squad. He plays Patrick in the Monster Squad, and this t-shirt is from the Monster Squad. Creature Stole My Twinkie. And just like the Monster Squad, little Job, played by Robbie Kiger, was fantastic. If he stuck it out as an actor, I still think he'd be quite big today because of his acting skills. Early on we're introduced to Job and his sister Sarah, who are trying to get their big brother out of the cornfield because he's going to be 19 shortly, so he tries to escape, but unfortunately Malachi catches him and kills him. Well, he only half kills him. When he half kills him, I shouldn't laugh at this, but he goes onto the road like maybe Pet Sematary, and he's ran over by the main characters in the movie. Fred, look out! We're then introduced to Bert and Vicky, played by Peter Horton and Linda Hamilton, and most of the story revolves around them after we see them introduced in the movie. To be honest, Linda Hamilton wasn't great in this film. It was one of her first major roles, 1984 it was, so that was when The Terminator came out as well. She was much better in The Terminator, so I don't know if that's maybe the directing or the writing for this film, but she was very one-dimensional in this. There was a scene that really annoyed me, and it annoyed me when I watched it again today, where they're driving around trying to find their way out of this place, and they end up in the cornfield, and he keeps on saying, "Where should we go? I don't know where we are." And then she just blurts out with, "Tell me where we are." Well, obviously if he knew where they were, they wouldn't be lost. I like the scene where Vicky asks the little girl, "What's your name?" and she says, "Sarah." Sarah Connor. This felt like two movies merged into one. On one half of the film you've got this supernatural thing that's going on with Isaac and the cornfield that they didn't really go into until near the end of the movie, and that was just brushed aside. But then you had the other part of the story which was more interesting to me, with the couple trying to get out of the town that's taken over by the kids. If they kept it grounded without the supernatural elements, I think this movie would just be a little bit better. The scene at the end of the movie cracks me up every time. You've got Bert and Vicky with Job and Sarah. They've survived the apocalypse or whatever was happening on the cornfield. They've survived that. They're on their way back to the car, or whatever's left of the car, and they're laughing and joking, saying, "Oh, we survived, it's great, can we come live with you?" And they're like, "Yeah, you can stay for a day, a week, a month." They're all laughing around the car, and Bert and Vicky should know better because their big brother is dead in the trunk of the car. So sad. Going back to the nostalgic factor for this movie, that's exactly what this is for me. If I watched this today for the very first time, I would have hated it, but because I watched it as a kid, I grew up watching it quite a few times, and watching it today, I do know that it's dated. It's very dated. The acting's pretty good in it. I like the acting from Isaac. I like Malachi, played by Courtney Gaines, who's always hilarious. Hey! Pinocchio! It was ahead of its time with his acting with the kids, but it's got all the 80s cliches you would see in the horror movies. A couple of things that I can appreciate is the aesthetics of this movie and how beautiful it was. Like the scenery was amazing. All the stuff you see in this film, the cornfields, the wind, the empty streets, the little village, the little town, that's exactly what I'd want for a horror movie. And they've done that with Children of the Corn, and it was probably good back then, but it's very dated today. So if they made a movie not based on Children of the Corn, but made a movie today with that scenery, it would add to the creep factor. Always remembered as a kid, before I even saw this film, I would go into my local video store with my parents on a Friday night, as you would do. Only the guys my age would know this, or older than me, but we'd go into our local video store. I would run straight to the horror section. All my other family would go to the action, comedy, drama or whatever, I'm straight into this horror section. And there's a few VHS boxes that I would always pick up. Fright Night, I would always pick up. Night of the Demons, I would always pick that up. I would always pick up Return of the Living Dead Part 2, and I would always pick up Children of the Corn, and I'd always say to my parents, can we rent these, can we rent these? And they never would do it. I don't know why, maybe because they knew that the person in store that was selling them or renting them out to us knew they were for me, because when I got home, if they were on TV, I would be allowed to watch them anyway. But that's just a little trip down memory lane. So overall guys, I don't really like Children of the Corn. I'm probably going to watch all the sequels. I've only seen parts 1, 2 and 3. The rest of it, I don't even know how many there are, but the rest of them I haven't seen yet. So it'll be quite interesting to watch them all, especially parts 2 and 3 again, because I've not seen them for quite a while, but it'll be interesting to see them all. But yeah, Children of the Corn, I didn't really like it. I thought it was good back in the day, but now watching it as an adult, even with the nostalgic factor, it still wasn't very good. Thanks again to Jeffrey Mussman for recommending me to review this movie. It was a refreshing take watching this movie for the first time in a few years, and it really opened my eyes to how badly the movie dated. So again, thanks very much Jeffrey for that. I do get quite a lot of movie review requests guys, so that's why I set up a Patreon page, because my $10 tier allows you to ask me to review any horror movie that you want me to review. You can do that once a month. The only rules are it can't be pornographic, and it can't be a movie or horror movie that I've reviewed very recently. If it's a horror movie I've reviewed over a year ago, then by all means ask me to re-review it again. More information on my Patreon is down below in the description. Anyway guys, thanks all for watching again. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.